All right, welcome back to the Atlantic Construction Podcast. Today we have our first guest from the energy sector, Heritage Gas. So I'm very excited to have Heritage Gas with us today. We've got three individuals, three staff members. We've got Allison Coffin, Manager of Engineering Construction. Allison has an MBA from SMU, an engineering degree from Dalhousie, and has been with the company in various roles for, I think, 16 years or more. We also have Ryan Boudreau, 13 years with Heritage Gas in the construction group, has a background in heavy civil construction and heavy equipment, and is in charge of running the construction crews for Heritage Gas. And we have Jevin MacLellin, and Jevin is 6 years with the company, new construction account manager, works with developers, architects, mechanical engineers, incorporating natural gas into their new property developments. Jevin is a grad from St. FX in 2010. Yep. Thanks so much for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. I think maybe to start, Allison, you could kind of just give us an overview of Heritage Gas as a company and just sort of the main points of what the company does and what they offer.
Sure. So Heritage Gas is the natural gas distributor here in Nova Scotia. So we operate both an underground gas grid as well as a compressed natural gas trucking arm of our business. And we're basically bringing affordable and convenient energy to the homes and businesses and industrial customers in our province. Currently, we distribute gas within the Halifax Regional Municipality, as well as out in Enfield around the Halifax Airport. We distribute in Pictou County with parts of Stellarton and New Glasgow on our system, as well as up in Cumberland County with gas in Amherst and Oxford. Heritage Gas is a subsidiary of Tri-Summit Utilities, and we're regulated provincially by the Utility and Review Board.
Wow. So when Heritage Gas began, I think it was 2005?
2003.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So 18 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
So that first... to gain the distribution rights for natural gas in the province. That was something that had to be locked in with federal, provincial government for the province.
Yeah, so we apply through our provincial regulator, and we hold the franchise rights in certain counties within the province. Some counties don't have a franchise holder right now. So we're actually the second franchise holder. There was a company that was here several years before us and actually started construction of the underground system. But when Heritage took over the franchise in 2003, we were the first to actually energize the system and deliver the first gas in the province.
And so was there a big shift at first from offshore to getting the natural gas from the States and having it transported over that way? Initially, that wasn't the initial plan.
You're right. So the system's always been fully connected. But in early years of our operation, when the offshore Nova Scotia was still operational, most of our supply would have come from locally, from offshore Nova Scotia. Right. As that lessened in supply and then ultimately ceased operations, that transmission pipeline that brings the gas into our system is bidirectional. So instead of flowing from offshore, we started flowing from northeastern U.S. and western Canada and bringing gas into the region that way.
Great. I think before we dive too much into some details on different things, maybe Jevin, you can give us a little natural gas 101. Just kind of explain to our listeners who don't know a lot about it,
Sure.
sort of just the main points. And it's a fossil fuel and a very cleanly burning one, and it's used for heat and just the basics.
Yeah. No, natural gas. As you said, Dan has been here in Nova Scotia for 18, 19 years now. And obviously we're not in every single area here in HRM. So some folks may not really be that familiar at all with natural gas, and others have gas in their homes and businesses and would be very familiar with natural gas. So as you said, it is a fuel used for various purposes, including heating your home, heating your domestic hot water, powering your various utilities and kitchen equipment and things like that. And on a larger commercial scale can be used for the same purposes on a larger scale in new multi-unit residential developments and large industrial processes as well. And yeah, it's a great option. And as you said, it's out of the fossil fuels, it tends to be the cleaner of the bunch. So it's attractive in that way, and folks like it for that reason. So. Yeah.
And so if I'm a building owner and I'm considering natural gas in lieu of electricity, I'm taking into perspective that a lot of the electricity that we get in the province here is sourced from fossil fuel burning, and we'll say more dirty than in that regard for GHGs and whatnot and carbon in the atmosphere for how it's sourced. So the fact that natural gas is a cleaner fossil fuel, then it's not only more environmentally friendly, but it's a lot less cost than electricity.
Yeah. Here in Nova Scotia, there's a good chunk of coal produced electricity, and that is slowly moving away from coal over the years, but still exists to this day. So the natural gas basically is attractive for a lot of folks that want to include that into their projects and don't necessarily want to sort of move away from maybe a dirtier produced type of electricity, be it from coal, and do happen to know that natural gas, while it is still again a fossil fuel, it's not quite as harmful to it would be not as harmful, I wouldn't say, as coal produced electricity in some applications. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what's the overall, we're talking about benefits of natural gas, how do you explain the benefits of cost, compared to other options for heat? Yeah.
Well, natural gas is it is a commodity at the end of the day, so it's difficult to really talk too much about the pricing in general. We are at the mercy of the commodity of natural gas, and one thing we can do and have done is try to limit the volatility of the commodity as much as possible, and we do that by trying to lock into fixed contracts with different pipelines throughout North America, Western Canada and Ontario and northeastern United States. And so when we leave the pricing up to variability, we obviously limit our control over the ability to fix that pricing. And what can happen in that case is those fluctuations, and we have seen some fluctuations in years past, but entering into these contracts allows us to be more confident in the security of the price that we're offering our customers. Right. And
it
locks it in, and that gives us the peace of mind to know that some of these wild spikes won't occur, and we can sort of communicate that to our customers and give them the confidence that they're not going to see too much fluctuation. So we rely on those contracts heavily to make that happen.
Ryan, you're in charge of the site crews and installation for the distribution system and for hooking up to different developments and buildings. Maybe just talk a little bit about where you're installing pipe. I mean, I know you said a lot of it's happening in West Bedford right now for different communities up there, but also the south end of Halifax and Burnside, kind of all over. So
it's pretty crazy the amount of construction in town. I was sitting the other day at Yonge and Roby Street, and I think I counted 7 tower cranes just from that one intersection. So
yeah, you're right.
It's pretty unbelievable what's going on. But my guys, for sure, we're primarily focused in Bedford West. It's a pretty fast-growing subdivision out there. All mostly single-family homes. There are some duplex units, but they just keep. Just seems like they're.
So you're working with Cresco up there.
Cresco is one of the builders. Yeah, for sure. There's quite a few different builders up there, and we have a pretty good relationship with everybody. I think up there, a lot of communication because it's a pretty busy spot. They're building multiple houses at a time. Each builder, there's a lot of stuff happening. Tradespeople jumping from site to site. So we do a lot of prep work, meeting with the guys on site for the different builders and trying to figure out when the best time is for us to get in there so we don't get in anybody's way or nobody's in our way type of thing. So a lot of coordination and work goes into working with those guys, and they're all, pretty good at what they do. They got a lot of stuff down pat now. So.
Yeah. So that civil infrastructure of the distribution for natural gas through Heritage Gas, is it the case where it might have been nearby when a lot of those communities started, and now you're just connecting up to each individual house and running new mains?
Yeah.
And that kind of thing?
So what we do is the contractor that's building the subdivision will install the pipes underneath the asphalt and the hard surface.
Okay.
And before they pave and put the curbs and sidewalks in, they'll run stubs into the lots. And so what happens is when they start putting the foundations in and all the services are into the houses, then we can go in. We're usually the last utility in.
Right.
Because we're typically the shallowest. Like a lot of the other utilities are a lot deeper in the ground. So
Okay.
we go in the last shot. We only have to dig out
Just a
this.
couple feet, or like is that
Well,
typical?
usually typical is maybe 15 meter services
Okay.
from the house out to the
Oh, right.
out to
distance
the
from the house.
usually it's to the HRM property line,
Okay.
and then we activate, and from there it goes. Once the service is installed, it's given to the contractor, the heating contractor, and then they do all the work inside the building and coordinate getting a meter and an activation done.
So these builders, would they make a connection with the Heritage Gas as a client and say, every home we build, we want to have natural gas as our source of heat? Or is it just some homes for some builders are kind of like 100%?
So some builders are some builders do 100% in there, and then others they do
mix and match.
some mix and match. And I think it's mostly based on the customer. When they sell the house,
homeowner,
it's based
right.
on the homeowner, what they want. Because
Okay.
at the end of the day, they're building a house for a customer too. So it's really
Yeah.
up to them whether they want it or not. So.
Yeah, I suppose they're building for individual customers, not like
Yeah.
they're building those on spec or anything.
And I think, what's driving a lot of it now is a lot of people coming back home since the pandemic. They've moved back from other places where they have natural gas. So I think it's a no-brainer for them to look for it again when they come here. So I think that's, a lot of what we're seeing.
Because it's still growing in popularity here as opposed to other provinces.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Other provinces, Central Canada, or like and West, or
What's that? now?
other provinces like Central Canada and West where it's more popular.
Yeah, and even in Ontario,
Yeah.
there's a lot of customers, a lot of people on gas. Out west is pretty much, 100% natural gas out west in those
Yeah.
places. So
So you guys service all of Nova Scotia, 7 different municipalities in Nova Scotia, including HRM. But is there a lot of or any natural gas in other Atlantic provinces like that happening? Or
So there's a distribution system in New Brunswick. So
Okay.
Liberty's Utilities would have a similar operation in New Brunswick to what Heritage Gas does in Nova Scotia.
right?
Currently, there's not a gas distributor in Prince Edward Island or Newfoundland.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, maybe Jevin, we could talk a little bit about some of the challenges with some of the benefits and challenges, and kind of contrast with the basic challenges, roadblocks, and with the service.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we could start with some challenges. With the natural gas infrastructure, it's hard to be everywhere that our customers want us to be. We would love to be able to provide natural gas to everyone around, but unfortunately, the economics have to make a certain amount of sense to us to do that, and a lot of those economics are driven by larger commercial anchor customers, and that's why in some cases it may be confusing to homeowners or local residents why we're going down the street this way and not that way, and a lot of times that has to do with just the economic feasibility of the project that we're doing at the time, and it may have made sense to do things one way. So occasionally we'll get some disappointed customers that were looking for natural gas, and we weren't able to provide gas to them at that time. And
Because of the location mainly and distribution challenges to get to.
exactly,
where-
yep. It's we'll put together a project and run the economics, and again, it's a lot of times commercial customers dictate what, the direction that we're going and how far we can go in one way or another, and it's a challenge that we can't be in front of everyone and have a lot more residential projects. Existing residential is a challenge for us to go into existing streets sometimes. New construction isn't as difficult in that sense because we can go in during the construction.
During the civil phase when all that's being
During the
done.
civil phase, yep. Other challenges, again, as touched on before, we are a fossil fuel at the end of the day, and we are trying to be, we're trying to contribute as much as we can to our energy efficiency goals, and it's our responsibility to try and make sure that we're active and participating and doing our part and making sure that that's a goal of ours. Reducing the carbon footprint that we have as a commodity and as a company, and so we're working hard at doing
Towards
that.
Net zero in 2050.
Absolutely,
is it?
yeah, absolutely working towards that. And one of the biggest benefits, one of the things that folks like most about natural gas is its reliability. I mean, we're underground, so we're not at the mercy of logistical challenges of some fuel sources, let's say, that are above ground.
Yeah.
We are very consistent in our ability to provide a fuel source to a building or a residential home. There's not a lot of concern about running out of natural gas. There's they say there's about over 100 years of supply that exists of natural gas out there right now. So there's certainly not a big concern about running out. There's some rumors of we had a local supply source recently that a couple of natural gas supply offshore resources that closed down recently in the last few years. But we certainly have a lot of gas resources that we bring in from Western Canada and Ontario and various other regions that will make sure that our supply to our local customers will be
Abundant resource.
will be abundant. Yeah. So. The ability to not have fuel on site is a benefit that a lot of customers will say is nice to have. You're not dealing with some liability is sometimes associated with that. There's trucks, various trucks for other fuel alternatives, a little bit invasive sometimes, and having that chance that maybe in a cold winter day that something can happen where you might run out of fuel. I mean, that's obviously with natural gas, again, it's underground infrastructure, so it's there when you need it. It's always there, and it's reliable for folks. So I would say the versatility and the strength of that reliability component, and it is affordable at the end of the day. It's tends to be one of the most affordable options for you for heat and
Comparing it to electricity, oil.
yeah, it is. It's across the board. It's been we've had some ups and downs, but by and large, natural gas is extremely affordable and tends to be right there. And we have a few different rate classes, but in the all throughout our rate classes, generally, we're quite an affordable option, and more so in many cases than some fuel
I
alternatives.
think Killam Property recently was boasting about how much money Heritage Gas had saved them in some of their commercial buildings, in the last however many years. But I think it was in the millions for sure.
Yeah, we've saved some larger portfolio customers quite a bit of money since our inception there, and we're proud of that as a company for sure, and we hope to continue to do that moving forward. So yeah, that's definitely something we like to be proud of. Yeah,
For sure. Allison, did you have something to add earlier? You're saying about maybe about challenges or anything?
Yeah, first I was going to tag on to Jevin's comment
Yeah.
on reliability. So my team actually tracks and reports our stats on how reliable our system is, and
Right.
And as we're looking at our annual data in Q1 of the following year, we'll sometimes wager on how many nines we're going to be past the decimal point, because we're often 99.9999% reliable.
Wow.
And Jevin, you're probably starting to see some of those commercial customers building on that with generators, right?
Yeah, generators are great. I think seemed to be a bit of a spike in popularity when we, there was a few weather events, I guess, here in HRM that were, I would say, they were kind of unique. There's some hurricanes and some power outages, I'll say, and a lot of the new projects, and a lot of they'll be looking to add natural gas generators, looking at options that involve natural gas generators. So I've seen quite a bit of an increase in popularity and interest in using natural gas generators. And, I would say it's mostly for those types of reasons, just that reliability in weather events. And they are relatively affordable by comparison to other options. And they seem to be, being incorporated into the plans for a lot of these new projects, yeah.
Right. Ryan, I'm wondering, just, obviously there's lots of installing the lines for the distribution system out to new developments, new areas, new buildings. But that doesn't always mean that there's going to be equipment that's natural gas, appliances, fireplaces, ranges, stovetops, patio heaters, and things like that. So are you also organizing those kind of installs too when a building or a home has the appliances that are natural gas as well?
No. So once we
Preferred contractors.
yeah, so our job is to get gas to the house or to the foundation, and then after that, it's up to the builder and his heating contractor to organize what they're going to do inside the home.
Right. So you guys would just make it. You would run all to the home first, and then is there added work for Heritage Gas when the line is just coming to heat the home, or if there's going to be appliances in the house too, or it's just a
No, so we're responsible up to our meter on the home, and then everything past our meter is the customer's responsibility. Yeah. So, some people might put in a secondary gas line, for example, out to the back for a pool heater to heat their pool. So they're, the contractor that's building the house is responsible for installing all that infrastructure.
So does that need to be a preferred contractor like that you guys have signed off on to install after that point, or is that not a conflict of interest? Any mechanical contractor can.
I'm not sure, Jevin.
It doesn't need to be a preferred contractor, but those are two different systems built to two different standards.
Right.
So Heritage Gas falls under CSA standard Z662, which is your oil and gas pipelines. So our engineers would be qualified to design under that standard, and our crews are qualified to install and then energize up to the meter all under that. Once you get past our meter set and into the house, you fall under CSA B149.
Right.
So it's a different qualification.
Yeah.
It's a different technician
Different
that would do
arena.
the install and a different scope of design. So they don't necessarily have to be approved by Heritage Gas, but you would have to be a qualified installer.
Yeah.
Right.
We do have some relationships with some contractors out there that tend to do a lot of great work for us, and
Maybe more natural gas installs. than
leaning
others.
towards a little more natural gas, have those specializations, have those technicians that can we can kind of rely on, and but again, we don't it's not necessarily have to be anyone that falls under our preferred contractors, but we do support them.
What about safety, Ryan, or any of you guys? Like, I'm sure that's a concern for listeners and clients and stuff, and that's obviously you guys take a lot of pride in the safety side of your distribution and the commodities. So we just talk a little bit about safety.
Yeah, so I guess in terms of construction, everybody's heard of call before you dig, or it's click before you dig now. So and getting locates, and I guess what we do in the field is, we have stop and talks with contractors that we see that might be digging around without proper locates, and it's more of an educational take on things. So, it's not to show up and get somebody in trouble. We want to, educate them on the process and show them how to properly do things so that, the next time they can follow the process. And it's really streamlined now. There's an app that info excavation app that you can put on your phone, and you can request all your locates from the site, take pictures and attach them to your request and things like that. So we have all kinds of information in our truck. So if anybody sees us in Bedford and they want to know more, we can talk to them and certainly give them some information and so it's pretty good. Most people I think are knowledgeable about it now, and we don't have a lot of third party line damages anymore. We're pretty low. I think we lead the way in stats across Canada for utilities. So I think that says a lot about the work we're doing. So
Absolutely. And
Do you want to talk a little about our worker safety too? Maybe tell them about our competency assessment program?
yeah, so our own safety program is pretty robust. So all of our competency assessment program. So every year in the wintertime, we do our training and refresher work on our procedures and policies and things like that. So there's a presentation component, and then there's an evaluation component. So everybody's up to snuff on their training. And so that's one thing that we've put a lot of focus on the last few years as well. So, and the other thing, I guess that's kind of neat is we're now tracking all of our fittings and gas carrying fittings that are going into the ground. So for the past 3 years, I think all of our pipe and fittings that are getting put in the ground are tracked. All of our stuff comes with barcodes, so we're able to track what we're putting in the ground, so that if there's an issue down the road, we can find it, replace it, or keep an eye on it. Right now, this year, it's 100% of everything that gets in the ground is tracked that way. So, and that's something that we're leading. I think we're probably the only, if not the only one of the first utilities in Canada to start implementing that. So.
Right, and just to clarify for our listeners, so when Heritage Gas buys their supply of natural gas from the States, or that's coming from underwater pipes as well, hundreds of thousands of pipes. Everything's underground, right?
Underground, yes.
Yeah.
Underground,
Yeah.
Yep.
Very neat. Allison, you want to talk a little bit about maybe I know it's not something happening maybe currently, but maybe not so much in the too distant future of some shift of energy sources to hydrogen, or?
Yeah, so I think we know the energy system that we rely on today is going to look very different in the future, and I don't think any of us know exactly what it's going to look like. But we really have to look at the entire system to see how we're going to maximize those low carbon solutions across all the different applications. In particular, right now, somewhere around 3/4 of Nova Scotia's energy needs are supported by fossil fuels. Not just natural gas, but a blend of different fossil fuels. So as we move away from that and work towards both greening our electrical grid and greening our gas grid, it's not going to be a one size fits all or a one solution fits all. So we're looking at renewable natural gas. We're looking at low carbon hydrogen. And we're a bit uniquely set up here in Nova Scotia to develop that green hydrogen market. We have a new natural gas system, as we talked about. Our oldest pipes are somewhere around 20 years old, and the majority of our system would be polyethylene materials. Mm-hmm. Similar to what Ryan was talking about, we know exactly what types of materials we have and where they are, and those materials are more conducive to the idea of blending hydrogen with your natural gas. And the other thing that's interesting here, of course, in Nova Scotia is we have an abundance of wind resources. So there's a huge opportunity to look at creating green electricity from wind sources and then converting some of that into green hydrogen so it can be stored in our system if it's produced off-peak when it can't all be used at once. So I think we'll see the whole landscape look very different in the near future.
Wow. Jevin, do you want to talk a little bit about the challenges from existing to new builds in commercial and residential? I know Allison and I were talking about how property lines can be a big challenge when you're working on commercial buildings downtown. And that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of especially if you're looking to build a new building here downtown, and you'll often hear from the developers, they'll often kind of groan a bit about the challenges of working in a downtown location. There's a lot of old infrastructure down here in proper downtown Halifax.
But there's so much happening, right? I mean, the developments are crazy.
Well, it is. It's absolutely crazy. As Ryan said, there's cranes everywhere you look, and it's a bit of an annoyance, but it's certainly not a hurdle for some of these guys. They've done it so many times. They've figured out all the workarounds to issues with property and issues with older infrastructure that. Just look at the Queen's Mark building just behind us here. I mean, that was a construction and architectural. That was amazing what they did down there with the seawater and just the ability to construct a building like that, basically half hanging into the harbor.
And is there a natural gas element in some of the areas in that building?
There is, there's a large natural gas component too.
Is that the hotel or the office building, or which part?
There would be so partially they have a resource from seawater, so they have energy produced from seawater, which is relatively unique. So they took advantage of the seawater element, and then there would be a secondary natural gas component to help them supplement their heating and water heating needs and their commercial. I think there's the hotel, and then there's several restaurants that I know of that are going in there, and they'll all be natural gas powered, kitchens for those restaurants and for heating requirements as well. So it's an amazing building, and when they're able to use different types of fuel sources to find the optimal solution for them for energy efficiency and convenience as well, incorporating the seawater and the gas. And what they ended up with was obviously a great solution for what they got down there. So I think they're happy with what they have.
Any plans for natural gas element in any of the buildings within the Richmond Yards development? Is there some?
Yep, there is. I was chatting with those guys.
So that'd be Westwood and Bird.
Yeah, the Westwood guys. Yeah, we work with them. Work with them quite frequently on a lot of the projects that they work with. They're very pro natural gas company, and we try and make natural gas a solution for. They also have a new project off of Spring Garden there. I mean, it's crazy to keep track of them all. You drive downtown and it's just like. There's everything that's happening on Spring Garden Road as
the
it is.
landscape on Spring Garden is completely.
So you might
different,
even lose the ability to see sort of the actual residential multi-unit residential developments there. So, anyways, they have Richmond Yards will have as far as I know, will have a large gas component as well, and that's going to be a huge project. We're excited to get in.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That's great to hear too. I mean, and just to hear that, Queen's Mark and then obviously Richmond Yards in the future, and I'm sure, lots of other large commercial projects.
The Kennard building down here will also have a large natural gas component to it. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause, obviously talking with Ryan about, all the developments in the residential homes in different communities in Bedford, but you're also all through these large commercial projects here, the biggest ones in Halifax too. So it seems like you got a really good mix of commercial residential. Would you say do more of one or the other, or is it just kind of a 50-50 split?
Ryan, I was used to be involved in the residential side of things too, and it's a very there's so much residential new construction happening. Ryan can attest to that. He's in the thick of it every day, and I'm more so now mostly involved with new construction, commercial, specifically on the multi-unit residential. And I'm nonstop on that as well. So, and I think I would say it's got to be pretty close to 50-50 in terms of where we're putting our resources. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And we're talking a lot about areas that are in the HRM, Bedford and downtown Burnside, but obviously like other municipalities like New Glasgow and Stellarton and different parts of Nova Scotia. I mean, you guys are busy in those areas too, right? Like there's lots of homes that you're connecting lines to and servicing. And
yep.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of work in Amherst this year, and we installed the service in Oxford last week. It's a pretty small little town, but and then we've had some work in New Glasgow too. And again, Most of those folks have moved back from, and whether they're from here or whether they just decided to move to Nova Scotia, and then they've converted right over to natural gas, and in some cases they've been lining up their service line before the closing on their house. So, we've seen a little bit of an uptick from that.
And our construction can be pretty different in all those areas, hey? So when we're installing, like up in Cumberland County, the ground is very conducive to trenchless technology, so we use some directional drilling and some boring up there. We talked about just challenges of Halifax in general, and maybe Halifax Peninsula specifically. You don't really see that here. We have a high amount of bedrock, so all of our work here is trenched. If you can picture trenching out in somewhere like West Bedford, where Ryan talked about building at the time of development, the infrastructure is going in all at once. You know what's in the ground and where it is. You have ample working room. You're not worrying about impacting asphalt and concrete and traffic. You set up somewhere on the peninsula and you're breaking rock. Last
Blasting.
week we encountered some abandoned tram lines under the asphalt of the roadway, so then you have to find a way to safely remove those. You're dealing with traffic and tight working spaces and tight property lines, so very different approach across the province.
Acid bearing rock. That's a fun thing to deal with.
We saw some cool stuff excavating there at the Keith's Brewery a year or two ago, Allison. I forget what it was. Maybe
So the
old
new
tram
brewery
lines.
tower was being built. And
Yeah, there was some pretty funny stuff, old stuff, old infrastructure. I think it might have been tram lines or something, but there was some,
There was an old retaining wall
bottles and
there.
stuff.
Sometimes we'll actually encounter old artifacts,
Old
so we work
artifacts,
with a
yeah,
local archaeologist, and when we encounter that,
Yeah.
we bring him out to site to help us figure out if it's meaningful and make sure that's logged through the Nova Scotia Museum properly.
Yeah.
Right. I wonder if you'll find anything down at the Canard.
Oh, I'd imagine there'll be some stuff down there. Yeah.
Anything else, guys? I know we did cover a lot of points. I'm sure we could sit here much longer and dive deeper into each one, but it's exciting. It seems like it's a really positive thing for the community and the province to see more natural gas as a source of heat and a source of energy. Obviously, competing with NS Power and sources of other fossil fuels. But anything just in closing you guys want to add in or plug in for what's happening currently and where you see things headed for the company?
Yeah, we don't really want to compete with anyone, to be honest, with for resources or anything, or for market-wise, we want to work in conjunction with companies like Nova Scotia Power and just try to work together with them and try and find the best solution that provides our customers with
for hybrid stuff.
Yeah, if it's a hybrid solution, then that's great. If it's if the infrastructure is best suited for natural gas, then so be it. If it's better suited for an electric solution, then that's fine too. I would just probably maybe touch, Dan, on a couple of trends that I'm seeing in the market as far as natural gas goes. One thing that's sort of becoming a little more popular is the use of natural gas for construction heating in the wintertime for new projects, in my case. So,
for the project heating, on the job site while it's actively being built.
Yep. So in Western Canada, Ontario, typically, a lot of the project managers, site managers will utilize the natural gas resource to provide heating requirements for construction heat, curing concrete slabs, drywall, things like that, various parts of the construction process that you would require heat for. And a lot of the site project guys that do projects out west for some of the more national companies, they come out here and they wonder how they can get the natural gas for the construction heat. And
now, is that just on projects that are eventually going to be connected to natural gas anyway, right? At
we
some
would.
point when the project's
Yep.
done.
Yeah. So if we went and provided them with natural gas for construction heat, the assumption would be that the building would be using natural gas on a permanent level as well. So, but the trend, I guess, would be just this sort of transition from sort of other fuel sources for those construction heating needs to the ability to provide the natural gas. Now, we would obviously need the gas to exist in the street, but we have the ability to bring natural gas to the construction site, even though the building may be in its early stages, and connect to that existing gas infrastructure and allow them to, we would have a contractor come into play and provide them with that solution. So
I would think too, like then not only are you avoiding like oil powered or electric powered, frostbite heaters and stuff like that, but you're going to provide a lot better heat in the space. Even for the tradesmen working on the space, or for the value of the installs, like the heat's more consistent and for drywall, let's say, for things to dry and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you forget, there's no forgetting to shut it off. I mean, it's kind of that reliability. If you're a project manager, working for one of the crews or one of the companies around here, and you have that peace of mind to know that when you go home for the night, if you have frost fighters on and you're curing a slab or curing drywall or something, you can confidently know that you're not running out. And a lot of the guys that are used to using that out west really rely on that and expect it when they're working a project here on the East Coast now. And now that that we have that, we can provide that to them. They really appreciate the benefits of having the natural gas for the construction heating. Just gives them that peace of mind and takes a little bit off their plate in that sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anything else, Jevin, for trends and just what you're seeing, where you see things headed?
Yeah, there's interesting times when it comes to technology for HVAC systems in general. There's lots of stuff going on for electric systems, natural gas systems. We're working with our manufacturers, a little bit on some interesting things when it comes to new natural gas technology for multi-unit residential. And there's lots of stuff going on the electric side in that realm.
And it's such a big part of not just the cost of constructing the building, the mechanical side, but to maintain it for the building asset owner. To the mechanical side is 50. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's a high percentage.
Yeah, it's changed since we used to. It used to be it used to be a no-brainer. I'll be honest. To go with the natural gas system, we were the gold standard for the gas boiler system, and to a certain extent, we still are. But it is good in a sense that there's new technology that's evolving and emerging, and that technology has become more economically viable for our customers and for developers and property owners, and they do their evaluations with their engineers, and they come up with a solution that works best for them. And a lot of the times, Heritage Gas is definitely a part of that solution, but at the same time, it's still important for us to stay on our toes to make sure that we're working with manufacturers and distributors to communicate what type of technology our customers are wanting and looking at, and how that technology is evolving, and making sure that natural gas can work with that technology, and that we're not falling behind, and whether it be from a efficiency standpoint or a capital cost standpoint. So we're busy making sure that's that we're staying on top of that. So yeah, trends in that sense, and then the natural gas generator stuff is definitely a trend as well, that we're seeing more folks trying to incorporate the gas generators, which is great.
So you mentioned Westwood, and we talked about the Queen's Mark, which is, I think, Armour Group, and a few others. Are there other main developers that you're dealing with on the commercial side?
Yeah,
all kinds, I'm sure. Kennard Centerby Southwest.
Yeah, we deal with them all. I like to think that I have pretty good relationships with, and Ryan and Allison as well have good relationships with these companies. They tend to be very, very great to work with, and make the process easy for us. They know that we try our best to, basically make things as simple as possible, and know that they have a lot on their plate in terms of various components of building a massive building.
What stage do you get involved? I mean, is it you wait until the preliminary decisions are made and tender packages put together when there's a natural gas element, or is it kind of a bit of a conversation at that point?
Well, we've now realized that the sooner that we can get involved in the conversations, the better, because that way, even at the design stage, when certain initial conversations are happening, especially on the mechanical design front, if Heritage Gas or myself or whoever can come in and at minimum just have a conversation with what's available, what Heritage Gas is doing, what you know, opportunities exist within Heritage Gas, and if we can have a conversation with them as early as possible, then they would at minimum have that information to you know, make the best decision when they're working with their mechanical engineers. So we've determined that the sooner the better is best, and not just when the shovels hit the ground like it used to be. We pretty much, you know, knew at that point back in the day it was. You know, we just kind of facilitated the process, and now we know more than ever we need to be.
Can be a little late at that point. Right?
Yeah, we not only need to facilitate it, but we need to get in there and offer our education and you know, what's going on in the industry as far as natural gas. So, yeah.
Very nice. So, any last comments? Anyone else? Or
I'll just say we primarily do new service line installs, but we generally get pulled into a lot of these big projects around town. So Spring Garden Road, and we have to sometimes alter our lines, lower them, move them, depending on what's in the ground. So that, you know, some of those projects can be
for
fairly
existing
intense.
buildings or existing
For existing infrastructure in the
Right,
street.
right.
So like Spring Garden Road, for example, all
Right.
the overhead is going underground, so it's all got to go
A little
somewhere.
bit of interference there, yeah.
So we need to move some stuff around for them in order to make that happen. So
Okay.
a lot of coordination with that work and some of that. So there's a lot of HRM's got a lot of stuff on the go. Cogswell is
Yeah.
going to start.
Cogswell
There'll be some
Exchange.
stuff there for us to do as well. So
Yeah.
so we do a lot of stuff, not just new line installs, emergency response. So my group shuts the gas off in an emergency and
So
repairs
give an
the
example
damage.
of emergency, whether it be a leak or would it be
Yeah, so could be a couple of things. So it could be like a third party contractor digging in the street
Right.
without locates. We've had that. I'd say primarily, but then in the wintertime, something weird could happen, like a piece of ice could come off a building and break some of our infrastructure, like when we had those heavy snows a couple of years ago. The weight of the snow on the piping sometimes causes an issue, and we have to go out back on Easter. A car went off the road in a freezing rainstorm, and so we had to go out in the middle of that and shut the gas off and repair the damage. So, it doesn't happen very often. So, but it can be as a result of a few different things. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, guys, this has been very informative and educational, and it's been a pleasure chatting with you guys about Heritage Gas and natural gas and all the things that are happening in the province, and just a real pleasure for me and for our team here at Atlantic Construction Podcast. So, Jevin and Ryan and Allison, thanks so much for being here.
Likewise,
very
thanks
much.
for having us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Atlantic Construction Podcast. Be sure to follow us on any podcast platform you use. You can also find us on LinkedIn and Instagram at Atlantic Construction Podcast. Be sure to send us a comment or a review. We'd love to engage with you.